This is the informed consent for pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome. The principal investigator is Dr. Sajjad Zalzala. First name, S-A-J-A-D. Last name, Zalzala, Z-A-L-Z-A-L-A, MD, at AgelessRx. Email address, drDoctor@AgelessRx.com. AgelessRx.com. Informed consent form for participants in decentralized in the pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome. Study NCT 04604704. The study is sponsored under the organization AgelessRx. Licensed physician Dr. Sajjad Zalzala can be contacted at doctor@agelessrx.com. Again, that's doctor@agelessrx.com. AgelessRx.com. For contact with the study research manager, reach out to Carlo Martin at email address research@agelessrx.com. That's RESEARCH@agelessrx.com, or directly to report adverse events at phone number 619-307-4323. The Institutional Review Board is the Institute of Regenerative and Cellular Medicine, whose direct contact is barbara@ircm.org. That's BARBARA at ircm.org, or reachable by phone at 888-664-8894. This informed consent form has two parts: the information sheet to share information about the research with you, the certificate of consent for signatures if you agree to take part. You will be given a copy of the full informed consent form. Part 1. Information sheet. Introduction. AgelessRx is researching the impact LDN and NAD+ have in the treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome. This form is to provide interested parties the appropriate context to field questions and to give participants information to provide consent if they decide to enroll in the study. Participants have the option to talk to the primary investigator, the Institutional Review Board, and the study coordinators involved in the study about the research, and take ample time to reflect on whether you want to participate in the study or not. If you do not understand some of the words or concepts, a research coordinator will take the time to explain them to you, and you can ask questions during the pre-screen and e-consent meeting or later if they come up. Type of research intervention. The 12-week pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome will enroll participants with self-diagnosed post-COVID-19 into one of two arms receiving LDN and NAD+ treatment or placebo treatment. LDN will be used at a dosage of 4.5 milligrams per day after building up tolerance over the first 9 days, which will be taken orally in the form of tablets. NAD+ will be administered using the Ionto patch, iontophoresis patch containing 400 milligrams of NAD+ solution, which is worn on the skin for 4 to 6 hours once per week. Matched placebo control for combinational therapy arm in study as well. Doses will not exceed the normal dose that LDN and NAD+ is currently prescribed in routine clinical settings for which LDN and NAD+ are already approved. This next section will dive into background and rationale on the study. Background and rationale on study. A recording can be found giving further detail on the study at https://www.youtube.com. That's youtube.com/watch, WATCH, question mark, V as in Victor, equals S as in Sarah, 7, N as in Nancy, E as in elephant, H as in Heidi, Y as in yellow, J as in just, T as in trust, J as in just, S as in Sally, L as in Larry. COVID-19. The severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2, emerged in late 2019. The virus spread quickly, resulting in a pandemic of coronavirus disease 2019, otherwise known as COVID-19. As of October 1st, 2020, there were over 34 million cases of SARS-CoV-2 infections worldwide and over 1 million deaths. In the US alone, there have been over 7 million cases and over 200,000 deaths, 21% of the worldwide cases. Fortunately, the majority of patients who are infected either have mild symptoms, 80 to 90%, or no symptoms at all, unknown percentage. However, death rates among those with symptoms vary from 3% to 10% based on the country reporting, age of the patient, ethnicity, habits, like smoking, and medical comorbidities, like obesity, diabetes, or an immunocompromised state. Except for those with symptoms severe enough to warrant hospital admission, no FDA-approved or allowed by emergency use authorization, aka EUA, medications or treatments exist. For those who are hospitalized, convalescent plasma, remdesivir, corticosteroids, and respiratory support are routinely used. Remdesivir, steroids, and convalescent plasma have been approved by FDA for emergency use authorization. Although hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine, and azithromycin have been used in clinical trials, the efficacy of these drugs for both treatment and prevention of COVID-19 is controversial with conflicting results. Most patients with mild disease recover with a median time from onset to clinical recovery of approximately 2 weeks. For more severe cases, the recovery time stretches to 3 to 6 weeks. However, some patients have symptoms that persist for a long time. While there have been reports with longer-term follow-up in serious and severe cases, this is generally lacking for the milder, non-hospitalized cases. Recent reports and news articles suggest that there are a large number of patients with relatively mild disease who do not recover within a couple of weeks. Patients have turned to online support groups and discuss having symptoms for months, calling themselves long haulers. Next to the common COVID-19 symptoms, reported additional symptoms included fatigue of varying severity, brain fog, and concentration problems, insomnia, chills, sweats, and loss of appetite. A large percentage of respondents had not had a positive COVID-19 test, as these were early cases and testing was not widely available. This research study was not a validated scientific study, making it difficult to draw conclusions, but it is clear that there are many patients who experience symptoms and have nowhere to turn to. No studies on these post-COVID-19 syndrome cases have been conducted so far. Low-dose naltrexone, or LDN. Naltrexone, or 17-cyclopropylmethyl 4, 5-epoxy 14-dihydroxymorphanan 6,1, is a non-selective opioid antagonist with a high affinity for mu-opioid receptors. It is FDA approved for medication-assisted treatment of opioid and alcohol dependence. Standard doses for these conditions are 50 to 150 milligrams per day, which also prevents the inhibition of the gamma-aminobutyric acid receptor and inhibits dopamine release. The dosing for FDA-approved use of LDN is generally above 50 milligrams orally per day. However, low doses have been widely used off-label for a variety of conditions. Naltrexone is a drug that exerts different pharmacodynamic effects in lower quantities than it does at higher doses. In doses below 5 milligrams, it has been shown to act as a glial modulator. Its low-dose effects were first used for the treatment of AIDS, for which doses of 1.5 to 3 milligrams resulted in immune-modulating effects in the 1980s and 1990s. Meanwhile, it has been used off-label for the treatment of inflammation and pain in autoimmune diseases such as multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, and fibromyalgia. Immune effects. Naltrexone binds to toll-like receptor 4, TLR4, and acts as an antagonist for this receptor. Downstream signaling of TLR4 results in the activation of the myeloid differentiation primary response 88, or MyD88, and TIR domain-containing adapter-inducing interferon beta pathways, resulting in the production of various inflammatory molecules such as IL-1, TNF-alpha, IFN beta, and nitric oxide. LDN antagonizes TRIF signaling, resulting in a reduction of TNF-alpha and IFN beta production. Opioid rebound effect. Low-dose use of naltrexone does not result in a full blockade of opioid receptor signaling. Its blockade lasts 4 to 6 hours, during which there is an increased endogenous opioid production and an increased production of opioid receptors. The increased production of endogenous opioids also modulates the immune system by inhibiting the proliferation of B and T cells. LDN also blocks the opioid growth factor receptor, OGF, which leads to a feedback loop resulting in increased production of endogenous opioid growth factor, or OGF, and the OGF receptor, increasing signaling. LDN may also bind directly to the OGF receptor on immune cells, thereby functioning as an immune modulator. Binding of OGF to the OGF receptor and increased endogenous opioid signaling can play a role in supporting the growth and development of tissues and organs. Therefore, LDN may promote cell proliferation, wound healing, and reduce inflammation. These immune effects of LDN may aid the body in dealing with the immune response against SARS-CoV-2. Indeed, its potential to suppress inflammatory cytokine production, its function as an ERK1 and 2 inhibitor, and the potential for disrupting the ACE2 binding are arguments used for the use of LDN for COVID-19. Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NAD. Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NAD, is a coenzyme involved in redox reactions. It is found in every cell of the human body and is involved in several metabolic pathways. It catalyzes electron transfer and metabolic reduction oxidation reactions essential for the production of ATP. In aging and obese populations, NAD+ has been found to decline over time. NAD+ has various functions in the cell. It is essential in mitochondria, where it serves as a high-energy electron-transferring carrier molecule in the form of NADH. It is not consumed, but shuttles between the NAD+ and the NADH forms. Additionally, NAD+ functions as a cofactor. In this function, NAD+ is consumed by enzymes involved in DNA repair, PARPs, cell survival, SIRT1-7, and inflammation, CD38. The last function is the reason that NAD+ gets depleted in cells during viral infections, including SARS. A recent study found that SARS-CoV-2 infection in human and animal cells results in upregulation of PARP family member genes, resulting in a suppression of NAD+ levels. NAD+ deficiency reduces the function and activation of SIRT1, an NAD-dependent deacetylase that is involved in various physiological functions, including aging, metabolism, and regulation of gene expression. SIRT1 also downregulates the transmembrane protease, ADAM17, which aids in decreasing the cytokine levels of TNF-A, IL-1B, and IL-6. Therefore, if ADAM17 expression is not downregulated by SIRT1 during infection, it may lead to uncontrolled cytokine production as occurring in some COVID-19 patients. Therefore, NAD+ decreases and associated mechanisms may be related to the immune response seen in COVID-19 patients, and it has been suggested that supplementing NAD+ in the elder population may aid in reducing the severe and long-haul effects of COVID-19. Current standard of care for post-COVID-19. According to the CDC, severe COVID-19 illness is now defined as any patient with an O2 or oxygen saturation below 94% on room air. Symptoms of fever, shortness of breath, fatigue, cough, anosmia, or loss of taste are taken into consideration, but the most important criteria for admission is oxygen saturation on room air, measured by a simple fingertip pulse oximeter. In general, patients with these symptoms but whose O2 saturation is greater than 94% are not admitted to the hospital. Remdesivir, corticosteroids, and convalescent plasma are only approved for patients requiring hospitalization. Thus, for patients with symptoms but normal oxygen saturation, no approved treatment exists and no treatments are paid for by insurance. For this reason, patients with no symptoms are currently told to go home and self-quarantine for 14 days, then be retested for COVID-19 before returning to work or to contact with friends and family. This research study is designed as a pilot study to see if metformin or LDN could reduce the severity and duration of COVID-19 in the large population of individuals who become infected with SARS-CoV-2 virus but do not require hospitalization. This group comprises over 90% of the individuals who test positive for SARS-CoV-2 by RT-PCR. The aging population is at higher risk of severe COVID-19 infection. Therefore, factors involved in the aging process may increase risk of this disease state. We aim to assess whether metformin, LDN, and NAD+ may aid in preventing severe and long-haul COVID-19. Chronic illness due to COVID-19 has been more reported and affects a relatively large subset of patients. In this case, age does not seem to be a discriminating factor. As the effects are long-term, several weeks to months, the economic burden is high, with many patients not being able to work or have reduced capacity. Currently, there is no FDA-approved treatment available for these patients. Rationale and Hypothesis. Given the above information about SARS-CoV-2 infection and its effects on the immune response and metabolic processes in the body, and the similarity of post-COVID-19 syndrome with diseases like fibromyalgia, we suggest treatment with LDN and NAD+ supplementation may aid in reducing symptoms of fatigue in post-COVID-19 syndrome. Please note, the diagram below shows, in the first box at the top, eligible patients, positive SARS-CoV-2, 1 to 4 months before enrollment, persistent moderation to severe fatigue based on the Chalders scale of greater than 9. This box has one arrow directed towards the treatment group and one arrow directed towards the control group. In the treatment group, N equals 30, LDN dose is 4.5 milligrams per day, and NAD+ is 400 milligrams per week. The eligible patients box leads to another control group, N equals 30, placebo LDN, placebo patch. Both treatment and control group will lead to 12 weeks of treatment and follow-up. Surveys will be taken at baseline, 2, 4, 8, and 12 weeks. The primary outcome is fatigue, and the secondary outcome is quality of life. Participant selection. We will enroll patients who have had a positive SARS-CoV-2 test 1 to 4 months before enrollment starts and who have self-diagnosed post-COVID-19 syndrome between the ages of 18 and 65. At enrollment, we will assess their fatigue by the Chalder Fatigue Scale, and scores above 9, which are moderate to severe fatigue, will be eligible for enrollment. Individuals must be able to participate in regular video calls with the principal investigator and live within the United States so we can ship the treatments to the participants. AgelessRx will cover the cost of medication for this study. No additional costs for patients are associated with participation in this study. Voluntary participation. Your participation in this research is entirely voluntary. It is your choice whether to participate or not. Informed consent, initialing, and review. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. This research study has been designed in accordance with the guidelines established by the World Medical Association Declaration of Helsinki for the ethical treatment of research subjects. This research has also been reviewed by an ethics committee that oversees the activities of the researchers, which is often referred to as an Institutional Research Board, or IRB. The IRB that approved this research study protocol and oversees it is the Ircm Irb. This informed consent document explains the objectives, purpose, methods, sources of funding, and any possible conflicts of interest of the researchers carrying out this study. It also lists the institutional affiliations of the researchers, the anticipated benefits and potential risks of the study, and the discomfort that you may experience if you participate in this research study. If you sign this document, you will not be guaranteed to be chosen as a participant in the pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome study. Rather, you are merely giving the pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome investigators permission to evaluate you as a potential participant in this trial. Patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome will be screened for when they have had a positive SARS-CoV-2 PCR-based test. Patients will be enrolled if this was within 1 to 4 months before enrollment. We will screen patients using the Chalder Fatigue Scale, and scores above 9 will be considered moderate or severe fatigue and will be eligible for this study. You must understand that you have the right to abstain from participation in the pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome study, and may withdraw from the study at any time, even during this enrollment and candidate selection period, without reprisal. However, completion of all the prerequisite tests does not guarantee you a spot in the pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome trial. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. We ask that you read the document in its entirety at home. Please print a copy of this informed consent document if you received it as an email attachment or if you downloaded the form from the AgelessRx website. This way you can write down your questions in pen or pencil on the margin of the pages as you read. We will personally answer your questions during a face-to-face video call with Dr. Sajad Zalzala or Carlo Martin. Please note that all of your answers on the questionnaires, your answers in the face-to-face video call, and the results of all your tests will be kept private and will not be shared with anyone, regardless of whether you decide to proceed as a research subject volunteer. However, all of this information will be de-identified by removing your name, address, phone number, date of birth, and other identifying information. Your de-identified data will be included in a research database simply as an ID number. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. After reading this form in its entirety, please have this form with you for the private, face-to-face informed consent video call. During this call, you will be asked to sign and date this informed consent using an electronic signature service in the presence of our clinical trial coordinator or one of our principal investigators. It is critical that you understand that informed consent is not just signing a form, but that informed consent is a personal dialogue between you and the principal investigators or clinical trial coordinator of the study. It is important that you fully understand what the study entails, including the initial tests and follow-up tests, the initial questionnaires and follow-up questionnaires, the intervention drug and its potential side effects. If you choose to participate in the intervention trial, you will be required to take an FDA-approved drug and supplement. You will be required to report side effects from this drug that you will be taking, as well as fill in questionnaires and participate in surveys. We also require that you report any illness or change in health status that you may encounter. For example, elective or emergency surgery, car/motorcycle accident, new medical condition, etc. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. It is important that you understand that this study is an intervention study and requires you to take an FDA-approved drug. This FDA-approved drug is not approved for the treatment of post-COVID-19. Its low-dose effects were first used for the treatment of AIDS, for which doses of 1.5 to 3 milligrams resulted in immune-modulating effects in the 1980s and 1990s. Meanwhile, it has been used off-label for the treatment of inflammation and pain in autoimmune diseases, such as multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, and fibromyalgia. For this reason, this drug is being used off-label in this intervention trial to see if it can be used in the treatment of post-COVID-19. This is why we need your cooperation in being honest and truthful as you fill out questionnaires about your personal habits, lifestyle, diet, and exercise. This informed consent document has been created using guidelines established by the NIH, which based its guidelines on the World Medical Association Declaration of Helsinki, originally adopted in 1964 but amended at least 6 times since then. For a complete summary of the WMA Declaration of Helsinki, reference the Bulletin of the World Health Organization, Volume 79, Number 4, 2001, pages 373 through 374. Introduction. Please initial only after you have read or listened to the next 4 paragraphs and fully understand it. We are inviting you to take a series of questionnaires to qualify as a volunteer for the pilot study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome. There are no financial rewards for participating, and there are some risks to participating, since this study involves the use of an FDA-approved drug and a patch with a nutritional supplement. For this reason, the use of the FDA-approved drug used in this trial is officially considered off-label use by the U.S. FDA. It is approved for different diseases, but in this case, we are using this drug as a repurposed drug for the purpose of treating post-COVID-19 syndrome. The official name of this research study is, quote-unquote, Pilot Study into LDN and NAD+ for treatment of patients with post-COVID-19 syndrome, or, for short, post-COVID-19. The post-COVID-19 trial is designed to objectively measure symptoms of post-COVID-19 using questionnaires. After evaluating each applicant to see if they fit into the inclusion criteria and have none of the exclusion criteria, we will invite at least 60 patients to participate in the study. These individuals will then be enrolled in a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial of an FDA-approved drug, LDN and NAD+, and we will monitor the individuals for side effects and efficacy of the drugs. Placebo-controlled means that in this study, participants will either be taking the drug LDN and NAD+, or a placebo, which is a fake drug. The assignment to which group you will be in, on a drug or taking the fake drug, will be determined by randomization using a lottery system. Neither you or the researchers involved in this trial will know what drug or dosage you are on. It's a double-blind study. This is meant to make the research more reliable so we can draw conclusions more accurately. The study will be carried out for a period of up to 12 weeks, with interim evaluations done by questionnaires. We will assess the outcome measures using validated surveys, which would be completed at baseline and at 2, 4, 8, and 12 weeks after enrollment. We will assess the difference with baseline. No individual reports or volunteer participants' data will be shared with the public, and the research subject's identity will be kept confidential during and after the clinical trial. However, the aggregate data and the analysis of this data will be made public in the form of a series of scientific publications in peer-reviewed literature. This study is sponsored by AgelessRx, located in Chicago, Illinois, but the study will be done virtually from any location within the USA. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Your participation in this study is entirely voluntary and will primarily consist of intake questionnaires and surveys. The questionnaires will include a thorough evaluation of your lifestyle, including medical illnesses, surgical procedures, medications, allergies, family history, social history, and habits. You will be screened for adequate cognitive function to be able to give informed consent, technological competency to complete web forms and perform video calls with the PI, a positive PCR test result for SARS-CoV-2 1 to 4 months before enrollment, and a fatigue score above 9 in the Chalder Fatigue Scale upon enrollment. If you meet all of the inclusion criteria and do not have any of the exclusion criteria for the post-COVID-19 trial, then you will be given the opportunity to enroll in the clinical trial, which will involve the use of an FDA-approved drug, LDN, and NAD+. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. The purpose of the drug, as well as its common side effects, will be explained to you. Standardized questionnaires for reporting side effects of this drug will be emailed to you, and you will be asked to report all side effects on a weekly basis. If you have any serious side effects, the principal investigator may require you to drop out of the post-COVID-19 trial. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. We ask that you write down your questions about the tests, the inclusion-exclusion criteria, and the drug that will be used in the post-COVID-19 trial. We ask that you call or email our clinical study coordinator for any further questions that you may have before your virtual meeting. We also encourage you to talk to your family or significant other about participating in this study, and only then make your decision as to whether you want to participate. There is no financial compensation to you for participating in this study. The only benefit that you may receive from this study is the satisfaction of being a participant in a study that may unravel some of the mysteries of post-COVID-19 syndrome. If you decide to participate, you must sign this form to show that you want to take part. Who qualifies for this study? Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. You are being offered the opportunity to take part in this research study because you are between 18 and 65 years of age. You have tested positive for COVID-19, have symptoms of post-COVID-19 syndrome, you have the legal ability to make your own decisions, and you have expressed an interest in volunteering for this study. Those are the main inclusion criteria for joining this study. There are no restrictions of race, gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, educational status, sexual preference, religious preference, or political views in this study. Purpose of the research study. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. The purpose of this research study is to determine whether the drug low-dose naltrexone and the supplement NAD+ will make a measurable objective effect on post-COVID-19 syndrome symptoms. Screening questionnaires and tests that must be done before entering the post-COVID-19 trial. Please initial only after you have read this paragraph and fully understand it. Before you can be enrolled in the trial, you must have completed a health questionnaire. These tests are designed to ensure that you are eligible for the study or if it would be unhealthy for you to participate in it. The questionnaires will be covered by confidentiality rules and will not be released to anyone except you. You may obtain copies of these results without charge if you request them by written consent. If it is determined that you qualify for the study, then you will be notified by email, phone, or regular mail and will be invited to join the trial. Time duration of initial and subsequent tests. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. If you agree to take part in this study, your involvement will last a few hours to complete the tests and meet virtually with the clinical trial coordinator or principal investigator to complete the informed consent. We will assess the outcome measures using validated surveys, which will be completed at baseline and at 2, 4, 8, and 12 weeks after enrollment. We will assess the difference with baseline. Discomfort and Risks. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. The trial involves the administration of low-dose naltrexone and NAD+ that may have unknown risks associated with its use. Here we provide a list of the most common side effects that have been reported with each medication at more than 1% frequency. Naltrexone, abdominal or stomach cramping or pain, nausea, anxiety, restlessness, trouble sleeping, headache, tiredness, dizziness. NAD+, anxiety, tachycardia, and nausea. Additionally, the patch might give you a skin rash. If so, we will provide you with a steroid cream to treat that symptom. If you experience any of these side effects, these are expected to reduce over time. Please discuss with the principal investigator any side effects you might experience. Potential benefits. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. No specific health benefit from taking low-dose naltrexone and NAD+ at the tested doses have been proven. Our hypothesis is that these drugs will have a meaningful impact on post-COVID-19 syndrome symptoms and recovery time. Since there will be no financial compensation to any individual participating in the trial, there will be no financial benefit to participating in this study. You will be provided with an overview of the results of our study once all data from all participants have been analyzed. Clinical trial posting at FDA website www.clinicaltrials.gov. That's www.clinicaltrials.gov. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. A description of this clinical trial will be available on http://www.clinicaltrials.gov, www.clinicaltrials.gov, as required by U.S. law. This website will not include information that can identify you. At most, the website will include a summary of the results. You can search the website at any time. Storage of records, blood, and tissue. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Your research records that are reviewed, stored, and analyzed will be kept in a web-based, HIPAA-compliant, highly secure storage system. Privacy and confidentiality measures. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. The list that matches your name with the code number will be kept with AgelessRx in Chicago, Illinois. This information will not be shared with any individual or with any health or life insurance company. The U.S. government will not have any access to this information, nor will any state or local government. It will be used for research purposes alone and will not be part of your personal health record. In the event of any publication or presentation resulting from the research, no personally identifiable information will be shared. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. We will keep your participation in this research study confidential to the extent permitted by law. However, it is possible that other people may become aware of your participation in this study. The most common way that other people will become aware of your participation in this study is if you personally post pictures or comments about this study on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, text, or instant messaging programs on your phone. Although we do not have any laws prohibiting you from social media activities, we kindly ask that you do not do this. It completely destroys our ability to keep your identity confidential, and it does not help the cause or purpose of doing this research. Please help us here. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. There are some official people or groups who may legally inspect research records pertaining to this research study. They include the following. Number 1, the Ethics Committee overseeing this study. Their name is the Institute for Regenerative and Cellular Medicine. In the United States, ethics committees are also called Institutional Review Boards, or IRBs, and the IRCM's IRB may ask to see records to make sure that we are doing a good job at protecting the subjects in this research study. Number 2, the Office of Human Research Protections in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS. Like the IRB, their job is to ensure that research subjects are being protected and adequately informed about the research study that is being performed. Number 3, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Since the U.S. FDA has jurisdiction and has laws that govern IRB committees, the FDA can also request to see protocols and data from any study that is being supervised by a licensed IRB committee. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. None of the above organizations have any power to extract personal information about you, such as names, dates of birth, addresses, social security numbers, etc. Their purpose is just to ensure that the research is being done ethically, honestly, and within the bounds of the rules governing research. Please refer to these in Appendix B. Some of these records could contain information that personally identifies you. Reasonable efforts will be made to keep the personal information in your research record private and confidential, but absolute confidentiality cannot be guaranteed. The use of private health information. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Health information about you will be collected if you choose to be part of this research study. Health information is protected by law. At these study sites, your information will only be used or shared as explained and authorized in this consent form or when required by law. It is possible that some of the other people or groups who receive your health information may not be required by federal privacy laws to protect your information and may share it without your permission. To participate in this research, you must allow the study team to use your health information. If you do not want us to use your protected health information, you may not participate in this study. The research-related therapy is investigational. Therefore, it is not available unless you allow the use of your health information that is collected during this research study. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Your permission for the use, retention, and sharing of your identifiable health information will expire in 2 years after the completion of the study. At that time, the research information not already in your medical record will be destroyed. Any research information in your medical record will be kept indefinitely. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. If you choose to participate, you are free to withdraw your permission for the use and sharing of your health information and your samples at any time. You must do this in writing. Write to Dr. Sajjad Zalzala and let him know that you are withdrawing from the research study. They can be contacted by email at doctor@agelessrx.com. That's doctor@agelessrx.com. And or at research@agelessrx.com. That's research@agelessrx.com. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. If you withdraw your permission, we will no longer use or share medical information about you or your samples for this research study, except when the law allows us to do so. We are unable to take back anything we have already done or any information we have already shared with your permission. We may continue using and sharing the information obtained prior to your withdrawal if it is necessary for the soundness of the overall research. We will keep our records of the care that we provided to you as long as the law requires. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. The research team may use the following sources of health information: de-identified information from your medical records, which may be requested at the beginning of this study, such as a history of cancer, major operations, medications, chronic infections, etc. Medical records obtained about your personal medical or surgical history in the 10 years prior to the study, during the study, and after the study. Costs of participation. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Every effort to prevent injury as a result of your participation will be taken. It is possible, however, that you could develop complications or injuries as a result of participating in this research study. In the event of an injury resulting from this research, medical treatment is available but will be provided at the usual charge. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. There are no costs associated with participation in this trial. Costs for the treatment of research-related injuries will be charged to your insurance carrier or to you. Some insurance companies may not cover costs associated with research studies. If for any reason these costs are not covered by your insurance, they will be your responsibility. You will also be responsible for any deductible, co-insurance, and/or copay. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. You will not lose any legal rights by signing this form. Compensation for participation. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. You will not receive any financial compensation for being in this research study. If you participate in the treatment group, we will cover the costs of the drugs for the 12 weeks of the trial. You will be provided with an overview of the results of our study once all data from all participants has been analyzed. Research funding. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Funding for this study has come entirely from participants, AgelessRx and its affiliates, and charitable donations that have been made by many individuals interested in the study. No government grants were used to fund the study. Voluntary participation and responsibilities of the volunteer. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Taking part in this research study is voluntary. If you choose to take part in this research, your major responsibilities will include completing multiple questionnaires and undergoing multiple rounds of testing. You do not have to participate in this research. If you choose to take part, you have the right to stop at any time. If you decide not to participate, or if you decide to stop taking part in the research at a later date, there will be no penalty or loss of benefits to which you are otherwise entitled. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Your investigator may take you out of the research study without your permission. Some possible reasons for this are side effects from medications, your compliance with the study requirements, your use of habit-forming medications or recreational drugs, you're developing an unrelated illness, a car accident, or you're having a major surgery. Also, the Ircm Irb may end the research study early. If your participation in the research ends early, you may be asked to perform final testing at that time. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. If you will be participating in another clinical trial with the same investigators, or at the same study sites or elsewhere while in this research study, you should discuss the procedures and/or treatments with your physician or the investigators. This precaution is intended to protect you from possible side effects from interactions of research drugs, treatments, or testing. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. During the course of the research, you will be provided with any significant new findings that may affect your willingness to continue participating in this research. Contact info for questions or concerns. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. You have the right to ask any questions you may have about this research. If you have questions, complaints, or concerns, or believe you may have developed an injury related to this research, please contact Dr. Sajjad Zalzala at 313-355-8657. Again, that's 313-355-8657. A number that can be called 24 hours a day is 605-503-9990. Again, that's 605-503-9990. Initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. If you have questions regarding your rights as a research participant, or you have concerns or general questions about the research, please contact the Research Subjects Protection Advocate in the Subjects Protection Office at 312-996-1711. You may also call this number if you cannot reach the research team or wish to talk to someone else. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. For more information about participation in a research study and about your institutional review board, IRB, a group of people who review the research to protect your rights, please visit the Institute of Regenerative and Cellular Medicine, IRB's website at https://ircm.org. Included on this website under the heading IRB Regulations, you can access information about the protection of human research participants. Relevant federal regulations can be found at the following websites: http://www.fda.gov/regulatory information/guidances/UCM126420.html. That's www.fda.gov/REGUIDANCES/UCM126420.html and http://www.hhs.gov/OHRP/human-subjects/guidance/45CFR46.html. Again, that's http://www.hhs.gov/OHRP/CFR46.html. Signature and consent/permission to take part of this research study. Please initial only after you have read or listened to this paragraph and fully understand it. Your signature below means that you have received this information, have asked the questions you currently have about the research, and have received answers to those questions. You will receive a copy of the signed and dated form to keep for future reference. Participant. By signing this consent form, you indicate that you have read or listened to and understand this consent form and volunteer to participate in this research study. You understand that you will receive a copy of this form. You voluntarily choose to participate, but understand that your consent does not take away any legal rights in the case of negligence or other legal faults of anyone who is involved in this study. You further understand that nothing in this consent form is intended to replace any applicable federal, state, or local laws. Part 2. Certificate of Consent. To be stated by the participant providing consent. I have read the foregoing information, listened to the recording, or it has been read to me. I have had the opportunity to ask questions about it, and any questions that I have asked have been answered to my satisfaction. I consent voluntarily to participate as a participant in this research. Statement by the researcher or person taking consent. I have reviewed and provided the informed consent form to the potential participant and, to the best of my ability, made sure that the participant understands the study. I confirm that the participant was given an opportunity to ask questions about the study, and all the questions asked by the participant have been answered correctly and to the best of my ability. I confirm that the individual has not been coerced into giving consent, and the consent has been given freely and voluntarily. A copy of this informed consent form prior to signing has been provided to the participant, and a fully signed form will be provided for their records.